السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. حضورنا الكريم، حياكم الله في لقائنا المعرفي. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Good afternoon, Dr. Hitendra. I think it's afternoon in Boston there. I hope all of you and all your families staying safe and healthy. Welcome, everyone. Thank you for joining us for today's webinar. I am Maha Al-Suwaidi, Project Manager from Dubai Government Excellence Program, and we brought for you a very interesting topic on innovation, the way to overcome COVID-19, presented by Dr. Hitendra Patel. Dr. Hitendra is Executive Director of Global Innovation Institute, GIMI, Managing Director of the IXL Center. He has more than 20 years experience in innovation. He's a professor in various business schools such as HALT International Business School and Rothman School of Management. Dr. Patel has drove the creation of innovation standards and certification to make innovation a management discipline at GIMI. Dubai Government Excellence Program actually collaborated with GIMI to certify the Dubai Government Innovation Framework and Body of Knowledge after being reviewed based on a benchmarking study of top 12 most innovative countries worldwide. Those who are interested to know more about the framework, you can just check it out through our website. Before we get started, I would like to tell you that you can ask your questions through the question box that you have in the control panel during the presentation. At the end of the session, we have a Q&A session where we can get the questions and answer your questions. Now the floor is all yours, Dr. Patel. Please, Doctor. The sound.
Thank you very much, Maha. It's a pleasure to be doing this presentation to Dubai. Salam alaikum to everybody, and I hope all of you are safe. Today's presentation is about the COVID-19 and how can we actually overcome it. When COVID-19 started about 6 months ago in China, the world didn't realize what was going to happen. By February and March, suddenly we saw what was going on in Italy, what was going on in Spain, and we realized that this was something big. And very quickly, every country of the world, every city, every company, every family, and every individual was affected by COVID-19. This is a global problem of a global issue that has touched every one of us. And what I want to share with you is in this time of despair, there is tremendous opportunity for hope. And innovation is one of those ways to get through this. About 3 months ago, we started a COVID-19 think tank from the Global Innovation Management Institute. And this think tank was made up of people from Hong Kong and Indonesia, Malaysia, from Singapore, from India, Dubai, to people from Jordan, Egypt, South Africa, to Mauritius, to Italy, to Belgium, to Norway, to the UK, to Canada, the US, Mexico, Colombia, Brazil, and Guatemala, and many other countries. And this think tank got together on a weekly basis saying what's going on and what are we going to do as innovation people in terms of making sure that this little virus, and I use the word this little virus, will not stop us as human beings who have taken every battle in the world and overcome it. How will we overcome this crisis and how will we come out stronger? And this think tank got together every week and talked about what the issues were. And we learned about things happening in China before they were happening in Italy. And we learned about things that were going on in Italy that could be applied in the US and similarly in the US to South America and vice versa. And by exchanging ideas, we realized that we had more things in common than what we had in differences. And if we could really work together, we could perhaps fight this thing and win. What I want to share with you is the lessons we've learned and what are the opportunities that sit in front of us as we go forward in what we call the post-COVID period, the new normal. So here's what happened. Everybody around the world very quickly realized they didn't want to do what happened in Italy. And in Italy, our hospitals were overwhelmed and patients were coming in larger numbers in hospital beds, and patients were basically put to the side and patients died. Thousands of people were not given the right treatment because there were not enough hospital beds, ventilators to take care of people. And immediately people started saying, how do we overcome this thing? And they used a strategy called flattening the curve. Flattening the curve was basically saying that we can only afford to have people sick in quantities less than the number of hospital beds that we had. And as a result, the flattening the curve phenomena began to be taking place across the world, and virtually every country of the world, with perhaps the exception of Sweden, said this is our strategy, flatten the curve. And we put in place the approach to do that, which was social distancing. Social distancing said 2 meters apart, 6 feet apart, and then we basically said everybody go home, work from home, and don't come to work, and don't be in any crowded places. This strategy of social distancing worked. Our hospitals were not overwhelmed in general, even here in the United States, where we have 1.5 million people sick. But our hospitals are fine and we're going to manage it. But unfortunately, the consequence of social distancing, the indirect consequence of what saved our healthcare system, kind of destroyed our economy. Within 3 months in the US, we have lost 30 million jobs. And this is true in every country of the world where jobs are being lost. We had restaurants shut down, hotels shut down, travel stopped, airports shut down, and everywhere you looked around, signs came up saying shut down due to coronavirus. The strategy of social distancing unfortunately created an impact on our economies everywhere. And in that period of 2 months that we were staying at home, we began to understand this thing called fear and distrust of each other. This COVID-19, coronavirus, is real. It jumps from people to people quite easily, and we began to be suspicious of each other, and we became fearful ourselves of getting sick. We started wearing masks. We started staying far away from people. People started walking to the other side of the street when they see each other. And end result of this thing was we broke what took us 30, 50, 100 years to build, trust between people. That trust got broken, and we began to put walls up between each other. This very walls broke up our team structures in our companies, and this very wall broke up our marketing and engineering functions, and this wall eventually broke up our interaction with our clients and our suppliers. Essentially, trust and access to each other diminished, and our business continued to get worse. What I want to emphasize is this post-COVID, this new normal, is all about fear. Every one of us is fearful that we can get the coronavirus, or we can give it to our uncle, our grandfather, grandmother who might die. And therefore, we are not going to change very quickly. Until we have a vaccine, until we got real-time testing, until our hospitals can take care of all the sick people at any time, we're going to be very careful in how we interact with each other. Today in Boston, we opened up a little bit of our economy to let people come out. Nobody came out. People are scared. People were allowed to walk around and they still stayed indoors. It will take time for people to feel comfortable about fear. And it's this fear that I want to talk about, because it is the fear that if you can overcome it, will create the opportunity for the post-COVID period. The flattening of the curve did two things. It pushed out the date for the peak of the infection. By pushing it out, it took 2, 3, 4, 5 weeks to 2, 3, 4, 5 months of what's going to happen. During this time, companies are spending money on payroll, rent, mortgages, whatever, and the money is beginning to expand and be spent. And there's a risk that as we try and survive through this crisis, we are at real risk of going bankrupt. If we got lots of working capital, we'll be okay. If we don't have lots of working capital, we're out of working capital, we'll be bankrupt. There's other choices facing us, and we cannot sit still. We have to do something different. We got to get started. So what do? It's simple. If you want to open up your organizations, your government agencies, your businesses, you have to decrease the fear of your customers, your suppliers, and your employees. They need to come back and feel safe. And similarly, you got to increase the trust by communicating and showing truly that we are being honest and not reckless in terms of your health and safety. What do? Well, it's simple. If you look at yourself as a company, as an organization, as a government entity, you have customers. Well, you got to make sure customers feel safe when they work with you. When they come into your buildings, do they feel safe? When they leave your buildings, do they feel safe? When your employees come to work, they are going to come to work. Are they feeling safe? Are they worried that one of their other employees is going to make them sick? And therefore, you might make your grandfather or uncle sick. And similarly for your suppliers. So the recipe is simple. You want to open up a business, all you have to do is make all the processes that were unsafe in your company, make them safe. And then you can start. Now, the thing is, the good news is many of the agencies have been working during this COVID-19 crisis. Many of you from your government agencies went to work, whether you were working in the police department, or you were in a hospital, or you were in a pharmacy, or even supermarket and health stuff. These are essential businesses. And essential businesses stayed open, and they tried to figure out how to work safely. In the United States, in many parts of the world, many people got sick in the government, in the hospitals, in the supermarkets, as we try to figure out how to do this. And through those mistakes, we have figured out maybe how to do it properly. We can learn from them. We can also learn a lot from what's going on in China and what's going on in Spain or Italy or in the US or in Dubai for that matter. We can learn from each other because everybody is trying to figure out how to solve this problem. Now, the solution that we're looking for are not supposed to look like this, because this sort of solutions will not work for you and me. We're not talking about 2 meters apart. The 2 meters apart are solutions which makes you feel safe, yes, but we are human beings. We don't eat like this. We're not looking for solutions which are of this type, where you separate people out by 6 feet. That bank or that building was not designed to have people separated by that big distances, so that people then have to go stand outside in the hot sun and wrap around the building. That's impractical. We're not talking about solutions where the airlines, for example, or the restaurants keep the middle aisle empty. Keeping the whole middle aisle empty is good for the customer, but not economical for the airline or the restaurant or anybody else. This sort of solutions we tolerate. We tolerate at this moment. We tolerate them because there's been a crisis. But we are about to go to the post-crisis. And this post-COVID-19, the new normal, these are not acceptable solutions because we need to make money, we need to be practical, and we need to be culturally sensitive. And if you do not put those equations together, the solutions you come up with are not going to be exciting. The think tank has been working around the world looking for solutions. What are the solutions which are effectively 2 meters apart? What are the solutions which are culturally sensitive? What are the solutions which are practical? And what are the solutions that make us money? And throughout the world, as we sourced ideas from the think tank, we saw solutions of touchless, things you didn't have to touch. Solutions where instead of you doing something, you make somebody else do it yourself. Solutions of virtual, digital, solutions which have barriers, mechanical barriers and protective barriers, or robotics. Robots being used to do things that you can't do because it's unsafe, or registration or certified clean. And this think tank has been collecting all these solutions into solutions that can be made available to everybody else. These solutions should decrease fear. They should increase trust. They should create a competitive advantage for your performance. These are things that you should have done anyway, but you might not have done before. There are solutions which exist now. Sorry about that. The solutions which exist, which are touchless. In markets in China, and I'm talking about markets where people are exchanging cash, people are exchanging cash through touchless systems, through phones. That system of do it yourself. Instead of you putting things together as the manufacturer or the government, you make people do it themselves. People are like IKEA. You put your furniture together, or you put your own food trays away, like in McDonald's. Do it yourself. The solution of digital, where in the United States, every university shut down. In March, every university shut down. Every high school shut down. And suddenly 3 days later, all the universities up and running again. For the last 10 years, every university has been instructed by the dean, by the board, you need to go more online. And every professor says, that's not how we teach. I'm a professor. I write on the whiteboard. I talk to my students. That's how I build my connection. I will not use a computer. I will not use online. In 3 days, all those dinosaurs, all those professors who were resisting are now using Zoom. They had never heard of Zoom before. They're using things that they could not imagine, Google Classroom. And next second, the whole country is back up and running again, safely. People, of course, came up with masks, and they came up with gloves, clothes, barriers. Every store in the United States, every store in the world is going to have this plexiglass shield, where the cashier will stand on one side, and the person paying will be on the other side. That plexiglass is only in about 5% of the stores and businesses of the United States today. Another 95% are waiting to buy and order those things and put them in place. Business opportunities emerge from this. Robots are coming out. Robots which do things for you as if you are there, but you don't have to be there. Robots don't get sick. Robots do not get contaminated. And robots, for whatever reason, we trust more than the human being who might go achoo and the sneeze will go out. I trust a robot more than a human. And then the solutions are certified clean, people who are certified. In China, for example, to enter a restaurant, they measure your temperature. If your temperature is the right temperature, you're allowed in. You're certified clean. And by that, you can now bring people in versus keeping people 2 meters apart. The solutions we are looking for don't look like this. These are not the practical solutions that you should be looking at. These are not the practical solutions of the police or the hospitals or any of your government ministries. We need solutions which are taking advantage of technology, solutions which are taking care of what is reasonable, what is civilized, and what is practical. We have taken all the solutions and put them into a database, and this database will be very helpful because we collect them from all around the world, and therefore people can find the problem and find solutions quickly. Touchless as an example. Customers say, don't let me touch any surface that others might have touched. There are touchless keypads, touchless shopping, touchless locks, touchless delivery. These are all beginning to come into the market. They existed before. Now they're being accelerated into the market because coronavirus, COVID-19 creates an opportunity. People don't want to touch anything anymore. Do it yourself. Instead of you doing it for them, people say, just let me do it. Let me do it. It is safer. And as a result, people are looking at self-testing with medical devices. Yeah, I know, haircuts. People are trying to give themselves haircuts, self-check-in at airports and at hotels, and all these new technologies are coming. Similarly, digital and virtual. As I told you about the universities and classrooms coming, similarly, there are payment systems, ordering systems emerging very quickly. There are conferences being held on virtually, and there are also rock concerts being offered where a few people are allowed to come to a concert and they pay a lot of money for it. Different ways to do what we used to do before. Protective barriers. You've seen the taxis already putting a plastic barrier between the drivers and yourself. That's a barrier. That barrier is an opportunity to stay close to each other, not 2 meters apart. You're closer, but the barrier makes you feel like 2 meters apart. There are people with devices at Pantalon, a factory where people are working in the factory. And here they wear devices, and whenever 2 people come too close, it goes beep, 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 beep. It warns you that you're breaking the distance. And therefore, you don't need a mechanical distance, but a virtual distance. Disinfectant, tents. When you walk through a tent, you can be clean. And in supermarkets, the plexiglass that I was talking about, the sneeze glasses. Robots are there. Robots can do that. As they went to take care of COVID-19 patients, they had to go in and out, being exposed on one side. That's one risk. But the other one was they were losing 2 hours, changing clothes, washing up, changing clothes again and again. The robots on one side, doctors on the other side. The robot walks back and forth and checks on patients. Cleaning things. Robots with ultraviolet light, shining around to make sure everything is clean. Shelves being stocked by robots. So no longer does a human being touch anything, and the robot will stock the shelves. And pharmacists packing medicine for you through automated systems. Many of these technologies have always been here, but we always said, no, not this year, we'll do it next year or next year. So guess what? This COVID-19 creates an opportunity to accelerate many of the things that we used to want to do. And instead of doing it next year, why don't we do it this year? And those are the opportunities. And of course, certified clean, we're going to see more and more of this thing called certified clean, a stamp, whether it's a passport or immunity passport, like the vaccination card books we used to have when we were younger. And this vaccination, like yellow fever and smallpox vaccine stamps, said, I've already been sick, so I'm okay, to thermal screening, to real-time testing. But certified clean is coming, and you've got to think about what those things are going to be. Ultimately, here's the lesson for all of us. We are fighting a real battle. It is the coronavirus. This virus hit all of us, everywhere in the world. it spreads. It spreads very fast and very quickly. We use flattening the curve as a strategy. Flatten the curve. Flattening the curve helps our health system, but really puts a lot of pressure on our economic businesses and economy of what we want to do. Money is being spent like crazy while we try and survive, while money is not coming into the businesses as a region. We need to fix something. We need to get started earlier. And the way we get started earlier is by thinking of innovation. The red curve is what will happen if you do nothing at all. And I know in Dubai, you are not a people who lean back and do nothing at all. The people in Dubai have always leaned forward and created your own future. I need us to, again, lean forward during this really difficult times. We have seen crisis before, and this crisis too will be behind us. And those who innovate will be able to lose less money. They'll be able to start earlier, and they'll come out of the crisis as a better country, as a better city, as a better region than others. So how do you do it? Very simply. I've stated it clearly before, but I'm going to say it again. You got to identify unsafe processes. It's those unsafe processes that we are fearful of. You and me and my brother and your sister and your mother and your father. My wife will not allow me to go to work where others might be risky because she does not want to get sick, or she does not want to make her mother sick. And because of this fear, we have to find unsafe processes. Fear is the driver. Fear is somewhat illogical, and fear is very strong. And the decisions we make around fear are very hard to overcome with logic and anything else. We need to overcome fear. The solutions we're looking for should not look like the ones that I showed you about 2 meters apart, which are uncivilized, they're impractical, and they're not economical. We're looking about technology-based solutions, new business model solutions, new products and new services, new ways to do things. In many cases, things that we have talked about doing before, but now let's do it faster. Next, choose the ones which are the best ones, the ones that decrease fear, that increase trust, maybe create a competitive advantage for your government agencies, and develop new business models. And ultimately, you've got to communicate, communicate, communicate. And the more you communicate, the more customers might listen to you, or employees will listen to you. But you've got to communicate using science and data. We are living in a world where we have got fake news. We're living in a world where people say things which are completely outrageous. And that's not enough anymore. We need to say things based on science and data. You will be safe because of this mechanical barrier. You'll be safe because everybody here has been certified clean and we measured it with this instrument. You need to be scientific in the approach and scientific in your communication. And this is what the cortex, which has to fight with the amygdala, where the fear is. Amygdala is in your brain. Cortex is the logical part, and they are fighting all the time. Logic is losing right now to fear. We need logic to overtake it. We must use science to communicate. And this is a recipe on how you do it. But let me explain even in more detail how to make it practical. The first thing is we have a discipline process is what you need to do. You need to set expectation from your leadership. You must understand the current process. You must identify and prioritize new processes, identify partners, and then implement them. And you got to do it not in 8 weeks, not in 3 months, but in 4 weeks and hopefully in 4 days. The faster you do it, the better it is. The detailed example of this is simple. You've got employees, you've got customers, you've got suppliers where you work. Those customers are coming in, they're feeling unsafe, employees feeling unsafe, suppliers are feeling unsafe. You want to make them all feel safe. The way to make them feel safe is, as an example, let's say this is a restaurant. It could be the police department. It could be the hospital. It could be anything. Let's say this is a restaurant. In the restaurant, there are different types of customers, different types of employees, and different types of suppliers. For each customer, for example, there's a Maya who likes to go to eat. There's somebody called Juan who likes to pick up his own food and not want to eat in the restaurant. There's somebody called Mike who says, bring the food to me and make it home delivery. Similarly, there are employees, the chef, the waiter, the boss boy. There might be suppliers, the people who supply the meat, the people who repair the equipment, people who might bring in clean linen and laundry. Find out for each one of them, what is the journey inside the restaurant? Let's look at an example. Let's look at customers, 3 different types of customers. There's a person who eats in. There's a person who picks up the food. There's a person who says, bring the food to me. Let's follow what Maya would do. And we have to do this for each one of the other 2. Maya comes to the restaurant. She enters. She walks through the door. She is seated. She orders the food. Food is prepared for her. It is then served. She eats the food. She pays and she leaves. When you look at the detail on how she does each one of them, you ask, hey, Maya, did you feel safe doing that? And I want to emphasize the statement. You ask Maya if she felt safe. Hey, Maya, did you feel safe doing that? And then you get a coding on that called a COVID-19 risk factor. Green meaning it's not a risky thing. Red meaning it's very bad. Maya doesn't like to be seated by the waiter next to other clients. Client's order, Maya doesn't like to be so close to the waiter giving the order. Food is prepared. Maya doesn't trust the waiter who brings the food or the chef who cooks the food. And the list goes through the process of reds and greens and yellows, and you map the whole process. When you map the whole process, now you're going to find solutions for the ones which are in red. Because the red ones will say, Maya is not going to come to your office or your building or your restaurant until she feels safe. So now you find solutions for the red things. The solutions we are looking for are based on her fears. Don't let me touch any surface. Just let me do it myself. I don't want you getting close to me. Let me be there without being there. If it is, be certified clean. Give me a barrier that someone else do the unsafe activities. This is what she feels. And we must listen to what she feels. And based on her feelings, we've got to create solutions that make sense to her. The solutions are not this one. This is not what we're talking about. This is not the next century. This is not post-COVID. This is not the new normal. The new normal are solutions based on this type of solutions, which are touchless, do-it-yourself, digital. And now we start saying, what are those solutions? And now Maya says that she comes in, hey, look, I don't want to sit next to somebody. Well, what if the restaurant provides some protection? Protection of a glove and mask or a divider. On ordering, what if we give Maya a tablet or her phone? She uses her own phone to order the plate or order her food. In terms of food, the food preparation, what if the waiters and the cooks all wear some clothes which says certified clean, and somewhere in the Dubai government, they've gone through a training about washing hands and wearing the right clothes to make sure they're certified clean. In terms of food coming to her, a robot will bring it on a tray. No human being. She doesn't have to touch anybody. And then again, when she eats, she's protected with the mask from the very beginning. And eventually she pays through some touchless system. And when she leaves, she might say, I want to take the food with me in a bag so I can eat it later. And she puts the food in a bag all by herself. And she leaves. And when she does that, all the reds and yellows begin to become green. And now this thing works. What you will need to do is look at all the different personas that you have inside suppliers, employees, and customers. And you're going to make sure each one of them, the journey through the day from 8 o'clock to 5 o'clock, the journey through the business, whatever you're doing, is mapped. You identify what's unsafe and you make it safe. And when you make it safe for all of them, your business is about to be ready for business. And that's it. Pretty straightforward on what we have to do. So, as senior executives and everybody else, how do you get started? If you are the senior executive, set the directive. Create the case for change. Create the urgency. Whatever we have to do tomorrow, we have to do today. Whatever we do today, we must do now. That's the directive from you guys. Assign teams. Every unit of execution of a project is based on people. You need teams to make things happen. But on that team, make sure the persona, the Maya, is inside the team so she can express her feelings. And it's her feelings, fear, that we have to work on and develop the journey maps and how to create safe solutions. Create a roadmap for all the unsafe things across all the personas and start implementing as soon as you can. And make sure the stakeholders feel safe with what you're doing and get ready to open for business. This is the recipe that you guys have to do. What I need you to think about is, I do not know exactly who is listening right now, because these webinars are a very interesting way to present. But if you are a leader of a small company, then drive your company to make all the unsafe processes safe. You can do that. If you are a leader of a big company, then you have to do the same for your company in making all processes safe. But now till your customers and your suppliers, they have to do it also. In the US, our supermarkets thought that they only had to worry about themselves. And they were very happy making lots of money because people were buying lots of food during the crisis. What they didn't realize is upstream were people who were packing meat. And the meat packers were not safe. And the people were working very close to each other, and they started getting sick in Iowa and getting sick in Kansas and Nebraska. And those factories shut down. Because they shut down, the meat didn't arrive in the supermarket. Next second, supermarkets are not making money anymore selling meat, and you affect the value chain. If you're a big player of the value chain, recognize that any other player on the value chain who's not clean will affect you sometime sooner or later. Associations do the same thing. Take 20 restaurants together and say, let's figure out how to get a restaurant open together. Hotels, let's get hotels together. Let's get the people at the taxis together. Let's get all the groups of good people together to say, how do we make it safer? Associations, groups, group them together and share best practices. This is not the time to compete, guys. This is the time to collaborate, cooperate, and show compassion to each other, not to compete. And ultimately, as a city and a region, the day you announce our whole city is COVID-19 friendly, the airports will open up and people will arrive. But we need to make sure every part, the restaurants, the hotels, the taxis, the bus systems, the train systems are all safe. Until then, only one person has to be sick or weak, and you cannot open your region. What I would like to do is I'm going to end my presentation, but we have a little survey. And if you don't mind asking the second question, saying if this presentation was helpful in helping you think about what the plans were going forward. I would appreciate doing a small poll. I would like you guys to actually fill out the poll to see if this presentation helped you. You should be seeing a poll on your computer. Do that. While you're seeing the poll, I want to make sure it's an appeal to all of us. This is a global problem, and there are global solutions for local issues. We must look wide for the ideas. This is not the time to go crazy on innovation. It takes 3 months to 3 years to create. We must find solutions outside and bring them in quickly. We must implement them quickly, and we must collaborate quickly with each other. And if we collaborate and we get things working, then we'll bring the trust of customers and employees and suppliers, and eventually the economy will start moving again at the speed that we needed to move. We'll wait a few more minutes for the polls to come in. This webinar presentation that I've been giving, we've given this in Brazil, in Colombia, we've got dates scheduled for Hong Kong, Mauritius, in Italy, in Belgium, and this is a common issue. This is not just in Dubai or in Boston. The topic is very, very relevant for people who are listening, and people are worried. People are worried about what to do next.
Doctor, do you see the result?
I do not see the results. If you don't mind sharing the results, I'd love to hear what the results are.
So for strongly agree, there is 39. The majority actually, they choose for 47%.
Excellent.
Yeah.
So let me make sure what has been going on around the world right now is most people are recognizing we need to come back out of the COVID-19 and we need to start. And people understand the economic issues. What many people don't realize is this is a network effect. We all need to come out. we all need to get our restaurants open. Not one restaurant, but all restaurants need to open. I will not come on the main street where the restaurants are, knowing that some restaurants are not open. It must be in some state. We need to open all of them, make them feel safe. We need to open all the hotels. We need to open things together. So at this moment, if you have figured something out, share with somebody else. Collaborate. Get the ideas from other places. There's no reason to invent things. This is not the time for inventions. This is a time for rapid adoption of what is already known. It may still feel innovative, whether it's robots or whether it's some virtual solutions. However, they exist. We just didn't want to use them, or we felt it was too much 21st century. It wasn't. The time was now. We as human beings resisted it. Now we can actually start. What I want to appeal to everybody on this presentation before we take any questions is, this is a great opportunity for us to do something. Every one of us has the opportunity to write a story. Many of us remember the story of John F. Kennedy putting a man on the moon. That's the story John F. Kennedy did. That's his story, put a man on the moon. In Dubai, we heard stories of the tallest buildings, the Palm Jumeirah, things that didn't exist, and out of sand came out amazing constructions, the stories of Dubai. We have been given another chance. This is another chapter for all of you to write a story that you can tell your grandkids. What did you do during COVID-19? What was the great things you built? While everybody else was leaning back and scared, you leaned forward and you created a story, a change that helped humankind move forward. Thank you, and open for questions.
Thank you. Thank you, Doctor, for the inspiring presentation. Actually, regarding the 6 feet apart, what captured me, I saw a picture of school students in France and Denmark, and they actually were playing alone, and they seem very sad. So I think that it will have a very negative effects on Generation Z and Alpha in the future. So that's why we have to look for innovative solutions and work together and collaborate for disruptive solutions. So now we'll move to the questions and the answers. The first question we have from Ruqayya. She's asking, if everything is done by robotics and virtual solutions, will that be a challenge for employment? And what about all the jobless?
So if you notice, I didn't say the answers are only robotics. The answers included protective materials. It included do-it-yourself solutions, business model innovation, everything else. And in some cases, robotics by itself might be too expensive and may not be practical. So what I wanted to emphasize is a portfolio of solutions which deliver the value proposition of 6 feet apart. They deliver the value proposition 2 meters apart, the safety and security people seek. Now, your objective is to find solutions which are practical, low cost, and can be implemented. And I want to emphasize, implemented in a short time. Time is our enemy. We got to go fast. And in here, some of it will be robotics and some of it will not. I do think robotics is coming. So I'm going to switch gear now. Robotics is here. And if you are not using robots for your trains, which you are, and you're not using robots for future taxis, so the taxis can move around, you're autonomous. And if you're not using robotics for manufacturing in factories, then you will become medieval. You'll be left behind. Other countries will continue moving. Korea is there already, and they're moving. China is moving. And if we do not embrace robots of some combination because we worry about the human beings losing their jobs, that's the wrong reason. We must use robots where they're better. And we must train humans and give them opportunities to use their creativity. We are amazing. We will create new opportunities for ourselves. We'll create new things for ourselves that will create new value for us. Whether it goes into entertainment, whether it comes into gamification, gaming, whether it comes to education, whether it comes into even creativity and new things of ideas of how to think and read and write. I am an eternal optimist about human beings. When I was in Motorola, I used to work at Motorola, and we had the biggest television manufacturing factories in the world. Motorola brought television to the world and cell phones. And the televisions we were getting beaten really badly by the Japanese, because the Japanese were just making them cheaper and better. And so everybody in the company was saying, no, we must continue making televisions. We should make televisions in the future. And the CEO came and says, no, we must stop making televisions. And we must end that business and let the Japanese do what they're doing. We must move the creativity of our talented people and redirect it into something bigger and better. And from that came the cell phones. From that came satellite communications. From that came telematics. And that came the whole 21st century that we all live in today. Motorola's creative genius was unleashed by stopping doing what we shouldn't do anymore into doing something else. So I understand fear of losing jobs, but I want us to recognize that on the other side, there's a host of opportunities for us.
Thank you, Doctor. We'll move to the second question from Muwaffaq. He's asking, the process of introducing new health and safety measures entails a financial cost, and this increases the economic burden on institutions. How does the creativity serve this aspect?
So for the first time, the guys who provide the technologies are also in trouble. The hospitals who need them are somewhat in trouble. So what should we do? We should continue fighting for pricing and all that, or we should collaborate. This is the first time where we are all in the same situation. We need to collaborate. If 10 hospitals get together, they can negotiate pricing to get the pricing lower. If you talk to your supplier who might have some sort of technology that you need to bring into your hospital, you can tell them, I can't afford it. I don't have the money. Can we do a different business model? Can we rent it? Can we lease it? Can I give you, every time I run an X-ray or an MRI, 10% of the profit? Can I do something in a different way? And both sides are willing to listen, because this is not the time for us to fight with each other. This is the time to collaborate and help each other and give each other space wherever we can. Don't charge the price you want. Charge right now the cost that keeps all of us effectively moving forward. And as we get strong again, let's get back to the next part of our business. But collaboration is important right now. Compassion is important. And anybody who is going to be greedy right now and charge extra, we will notice it. We will notice it. And we will call you out and say, you are not a good person. This is not the time to do this. And we saw that in the United States, where people are selling hand sanitizers for 10 times the price. And we put the pictures on Facebook and we humiliated them, because that's not how human beings should act at this time, especially. Let us collaborate, let's show compassion, and let us tell our kids that we are humans at this time.
Mm-hmm. Thank you, Doctor. For the third question we have from Muhammad, he's asking, what about the social sector services? The effect on social sector is huge. For example, services to elderly people, people with disabilities, and family cohesion in increasing conflict, leading to higher divorce rate probably.
We are learning, and that's the main thing. We didn't know many things, and this put us in a situation where we didn't realize. There were young children who are in families where parents are not nice to them, they hit them. And those children were protected by going to school. We learned about many things which are socially not appropriate. Old people who are not being visited, not being touched, hugged, and all that kind of thing. There's a price, and I think we should document what's happening, and we should make that available and visible. We got social media for a change, to make that so accessible to everybody, and we should fix those kind of things. I do think that we have been given a chance to reboot. For those who are old like me, it means Alt Control Delete. That's called reboot. Reboot your computer. We're given a chance to start again, and let's start again in a better way of saying what are the things that we should be watching out for, taking care of, and we should. I think there are two types of social impact that we are doing right now. There's one which is really, really drastic, where people who can't help themselves need help. And there's the second one is a total economic crisis. But if you don't help the economy, then we won't be able to help those people anyway. And we need to recognize a little bit of prioritization in here and manage this. For wealthier countries, do both. In poorer countries, it may be that we'll prioritize, and it's not going to be nice, but some part of the signal will get hurt. Well, what I want to encourage us to do is each one of us can do a little bit more. If we are in a good situation, put aside 10% of your time, put about 10% of your money to redirect it on social impact projects.
Thank you, Doctor. There is also another question from Khalid asking, assuming we will not have many face-to-face meetings anymore, and those unexpected over a coffee meetings will diminish. It has always been known that innovation and creativity comes in those kinds of meetings. By having a lot of things turning into digital and virtual, do you think that this will affect innovation and creativity?
So for thousands of years, we have sat around the table, we broke bread, we ate, we talked to each other, we exchanged ideas. Paris was known for the cafes, where the artists would meet the scientists, and Picasso would talk to Albert Einstein, and ideas would mix and clash and collide. And the power of eating around the table, or drinking over a table, or coffee or whatever, was while I eat, you can speak. And while you speak, when you eat, I can speak. So we have to listen to each other. And listening was the most important component of this thing. And in there, a fight. You had to fight with each other, disagree. We call it creative abrasion. You had to do all those kind of things. I think we lose some of that. We lose some of that when we're not around each other, and we value that tremendously. But we're also learning quickly how to do Zoom, how to do this webinars. And I remember, in fact, I'm going to give you a side story. About 8 years ago, I was at Cisco, and Cisco used to have this virtual conference room, and they had 6 television screens, and they were all kind of tilted, and big screens, and each one had a head on there from somebody from South Africa, Australia, Brazil, and they're all talking to you. And when you turn your face to look at the screen, that screen person knew you were looking at them. And all this, very human-like. Now, I remember there was one person on the screen who had a scar on the face. And I was just like, I wonder what the scar is. I'm looking carefully, thinking I'm looking at the screen. And suddenly I see this person doing this stuff, looking, and covering the face up like this. Because he felt I was looking at his face. Now, right now, none of you know when I'm looking at you. You could be having a drink, you could be sitting, wearing any clothes you want. But this person felt that I was looking at that person through the internet, through a screen. We will arrive at those type of environments where we can talk to each other and feel each other. We will learn that if you don't look at the camera to each other, that you are not paying attention. We'll change our cultural behaviors to say, I am on versus off. I'm paying attention. So I do think that we'll learn and master this. But on the other side, we are humans. And as human beings, we will find a way to come back together again in new and different ways. We like to be around each other. We like to argue with each other. We love to agree and disagree with each other. And we love to hug, and we love to just feel the warmth of each other. We'll get back together again also. But we will also master a new way to interact.
Thank you, Doctor. There is the last question from Nader. He's asking how to deal with careless portion of society who does not adhere to safety and social distancing instructions issued by government health authorities. They became a main reason for spreading the virus.
But whoever said that sounds a little bit like my wife right now. She's a little frustrated at the fact that wherever she goes, people are irresponsible. You see them in spring break in Florida at the parties and all that, being too close, and she gets mad at them. I think we are creatures of habit, and we are learning. And for us to just say, you must do this, and everybody do it, doesn't happen that way. We've got to slowly get into the practice. Wash your hands before you eat. Well, if nobody's watching, maybe you might not wash your hands. Not anymore. Now, the virus is watching you, right? So you wash your hands. So slowly, we'll get into habits of doing things. So in the US, we are talking about 3 phases, and we are about to open up the economy. The kids are going to get out. People are going to start doing what they want to do. But they've been told, they've all been told, we are still going to practice social distancing. You can go out, you must wear a mask. You must do 6 feet apart, separation. All the instructions have not changed. It's exactly the same as before, except that we must practice 2 meters apart. Now people are going to break the rules, and the virus will spread again, and it will shut down again. And when they shut down this time, it might be only for 4 weeks. But this time, the young people or the people who are irresponsible will realize there's a penalty, but they had a chance to practice, and one more to practice, and we'll get there. I sometimes think in many of the Asian cultures and some parts of the Middle East, maybe this sort of things might have happened before. And it is for that reason when people greet each other, they greet each other with their hands like this, and they don't touch each other. It is maybe why there's a scarf to make sure the air doesn't exchange itself. And there are many things out there which might have happened before. Those were habits which then became fashion and cultural. And then they became the normal. The new normal will come. And these kids will learn. These young, irresponsible people will learn.
Thank you, Doctor. I think we have some time. We can take another question. Fatma is asking, can you please emphasize on the role of innovation in overcoming COVID for airports and aviation industry?
Yeah. Look, there's a matrix that you got to pay attention to. The matrix is high touch. How much do people get close to each other? And how essential is the business? And for those which have got high touch, proximity of each other, and it's essential, we have to make everything safe. So the approach that I shared with you is find out the personas of 3 or 4 different types of customers that you have at the airport. The person who doesn't know how to use the airport, the person who knows how to walk around the airport with a bag and just goes in and out very quickly, and find each one of them and see how they go through the airport, and find out what's unsafe and unsafe in there and what's in common. Same thing with the people who work there, the people who do the bags and all this, and work through them quickly. I don't think this is a big activity. It's about 4 weeks of work with maybe special teams for each one of the segments. And then sit down and say, what solutions are we going to put together? The only guidance I have is don't go for the 6 feet apart solutions, because eventually you'll have to fix it again. Think hard now to find solutions that are high technology or really clever, which exist already, and use those to implement them, and they may give you a competitive advantage later on, right? So as an airport, we are going to get close to the aeroplane. We're going to exchange air in there. Maybe we can think about aeroplanes putting something which removes the air and cleans the air faster. Maybe we can think about in airports where as people come in, there's air conditioning systems which are pushing air in a different way. We have to do that. I think if you can solve this problem, I'm gonna turn the question around to you. If you solve this problem and you put your energy to solve the problem at the Dubai airport, whoever the team is going to be hired as consultants to every airport of the world, saying, help us open our airports also. And the business opportunity that comes out of this thing is incredible. So take the challenge, solve the problem, and tell the world you can. And they'll come to you and say, help us. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, Dr. Hitendra. Maha, if you allow me just to speak, to chat a little bit with Dr. Hitendra. Thank you very much for being with us. It's really a pleasure having you with us in DGP webinar knowledge session. It's always a pleasure to have you with us, actually sharing your exceptional knowledge and experience in the field of innovation. I think for this very interesting session regarding the innovation, the way to overcome COVID-19, and since we are talking about innovation, just have a quick question actually. How can we innovate and be more creative during this difficult time where we are losing really the physical interaction and benefiting from different mind in one space? It's really hard and it's really difficult using an online platform like Zoom or MS Team or any other platform.
So it's a good question, and I think we can go learn from the McKinseys, the BCGs, and the consultants. I used to be a monitor in Arthur D. Little, and we used to be able to work with a phone and a laptop anywhere in the world, right? And today with Google Sheets, you can put a question on Google Sheets and share the link with everybody, and 20 people, 50 people can jump in and provide solutions and ideas around it. If you create very structured spreadsheets, which says, we are trying to solve this problem, what are your ideas? Send a link to 100 people. They can immediately add answers and you can work together. So I think there are collaboration tools that are emerging. And I think the place for the best innovation for all this is coming from the universities. The universities were forced to open up. And at first they did e-learning, which is basically a professor who was recorded talking. Now they got e-classroom, where the professor is talking and can ask questions to each other. Now the next part will be e-labs, a digital e-lab. And in this digital e-lab, people will be able to talk to each other and put things together. So I believe these technology platforms are here. Stay close to the universities. They are the best ones who are advancing. In September, in the United States, many parents have paid $50,000 for the kids to go to college. And the universities are saying, you can take the course online. Not acceptable. So they're going to make sure the online experience is going to be the same as the real experience. The brainstorming sessions will feel like real sessions. Exchanging things digitally while almost being there as we are right now. I feel close to you, Dr. Hazza, right now. I feel close to you, Maha. I feel like we're near each other just by we can see each other. Keep the cameras on. Keep the cameras on always. Look at each other's faces and ask each other to always look at the camera when they're speaking, so you know that you're listening to each other. New rules.
It's hard, but we try to cope with it, to be honest. It's very hard, and us as the DGP, we used to organize lots of training and a physical interaction with the government employees. Now it's really hard, to get together and to see people. Sometimes you come up with the new ideas just talking with people in the corridors, So this is what we're missing right now, meeting. And now you have to make an effort in order to communicate with someone and chat. You have to book an appointment. You have to make a phone call. We don't used to have that.
Yes, Dr. Hazza, we had to also pivot what we do over the last 12 weeks, and we used to have physical accelerators for innovation, physical spaces for people to work on, and we realized it was unsafe. So we ran the same map of the personas and the persona journey to say what was unsafe, what was safe. And we started creating e-versions of the accelerator. So now we have a digital accelerator, which achieves almost the same objectives. Not there yet, 70% of what is perfect, but we're getting to 70%. So I think we are going to be more tolerant right now of trying new experiments. And then we're going to iterate, and it'll get better. But this is what we have to do. And I think what I've also learned is now on my team, I can have people from all around the world. They don't have to be in the same building. And that's powerful.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Dr. Hitendra. Thank you, Dr. Hazza, for being here today. And I would like to take this opportunity to thank you, Doctor, for the interesting presentation that you gave us today. There are lots of lessons learned, and thanks for everyone who attended this webinar. It's really a call for all innovative minds to think and start connecting the dots. I remember, Doctor, from your last session, connecting the dots for disruptive solutions to combat COVID-19 and save humanity for a better world. Stay tuned and register for our next webinar. We will have another webinar this week on Thursday. It will be on using big data and artificial intelligence in crisis time. Stay safe and healthy. Thank you all. Have a wonderful day. Thank you all.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Doctor.
Thank you, Doctor.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.